Hey y'all, Chelsea and Danny here.
Enjoy this episode of Today's Homeowner here on YouTube.
This week we're in Atlanta, Georgia, stepping up to a new level of construction.
Today's Homeowner with Danny Lipford, the voice of home improvement, with projects, tips, and ideas to help you improve your home.
Over the last 20 years, Americans have become far more environmentally aware, and that awareness has extended far beyond just recycling a few soft drink bottles and cans to the way we approach building homes. This week, we're going to look at the green building concept and how it aims to really minimize the impact that building homes has on our environment. Now, that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and we're going to explore a number of different ideas, including how to increase the energy efficiency of your home and how to use the right materials and the right processes to really minimize that impact. Now, we're just minutes away from downtown Atlanta, and we're about to go through an entire community of green homes. Stay with us. The stairway just really flows together well, Jim. This week, we're looking at different ways to build or remodel being more environmentally conscious. And to help us out this week, Jim Hackler with Green Builder Magazine. Jim, this isn't the type of home that I envision when I think of a green built home.
Yeah, most people think, oh, it's made from recycled tires and straw bales and it looks like a spaceship. But the reality is you can be environmental and have a beautiful house.
Well, I know the idea of building green has kind of changed a little bit over the last few years. What is considered, let's say, the definition of a green built home these days?
Well, this house actually really showcases a lot of things that you look for in an environmental home. Is basically the same thing you look for any house.
Okay.
That the house is very energy efficient, that it is quieter. It's actually right next to downtown, and you don't hear the traffic or anything outside. Some other features, you use materials that are going to last longer, so it's more durable.
Right.
And then it's healthier inside. Indoor air quality is one of the big concerns, and you tend to get better air inside.
Well, with the interstate being so close there, you can't hear it at all. And of course, that's great when you have that acoustic barrier that you have with a home that's built this tight and this well. But I bet the homeowners are really happy with this thing.
We weren't even aware of the neighborhood at first, but knew there was a development in Atlanta near the city that was supposed to be this green properties. And the homes looked old. I can remember looking at the first picture of this house and going, are you sure that that's a brand new home, to the realtor? Because it actually looked like it had been in existence for a long time, especially with the porch and the old yellow brick. And then when we first pulled in here and saw the park and the development, we knew this was the right place to be.
Yeah, this is actually our sixth house that we've owned, and I think what we really liked about this area, as well as the house, was really the combination of old and new. We really liked the old classic Southern homes, and we came from a home that was built back in the 1920s that we renovated to make ultra modern. So our idea was, are we better to have an old house that we make new, or have a new house that looks old? And I think we decided that the new that looks old is the way to go. You know, you buy a house and you start to learn the process of the house, and this house definitely had a lot more things in it. I love my outdoor. I love my landscaping. I spend a lot of time on my landscaping, and I've got a drip irrigation that runs through that waters everything automatically for me. The solar panels are another thing. So you start to see all these things in the house, and you see all this technology, and you're like, oh my God, do I have to learn all this stuff? Do I have to be an expert on solar panels? And really, the answer is no. It just runs itself, and that's kind of the beauty of really all the energy things in the house itself. Nothing really has to be maintained by the owner. Everything is automatic for us.
I understand the Millers have been in the house about 6 months. I would guess by now they probably are realizing how energy efficient this home is.
That's right, Danny. Last night here in Atlanta, we went down to the low 30s, and Mitch told me they didn't even have to turn on their heat.
Well, it's a good test of how efficient the house is, but a lot of technology, kind of a high-end approach here, but you really don't have to have that to really have a green home, do you?
That's so important for people to realize that you can have a green home that's high-end, affordable, or you can even have a renovation that's made more environmentally sensitive.
Okay. Some of the simple things, I guess, that we use on almost any addition or any renovation really plays into this.
Right, like windows. These windows here, double pane, they have the glazing that's called low E, and they're filled with argon gas that makes them a little bit more energy efficient, but but really good practical things that you can put into your house. Compact fluorescents. This is something easy that you can switch out. Very energy efficient, and they'll last for years.
And they don't have the buildup of heat that you have with the incandescent bulbs.
Exactly. Energy Star appliances. Any of the stores you could go out to, look for those, and they're the top of the line for helping save energy and water as well.
I recognize this thing.
That's
we
right.
changed a lot of these out, the programmable thermostat. That helps a lot.
That's such a no-brainer. In fact, I just switched mine out a couple weeks ago, and if I can do it, anybody can do it.
And what about some of the other technology here within this house? Because this is a little more complex than some traditional homes, of course.
This is a show home, and there are some really cool, sexy technologies. For example, they collect their rainwater, and then they actually have a satellite system that is able to tap into the forecast so that they don't water the lawns when we're expecting rain. Some other things, tankless hot water heaters. They're energy efficient and save on water. And another thing too is they have what's called open cell foam insulation. This serves as insulation as well as air sealing, which means that you don't have the drafts that you might get in some other homes.
Well, there's a lot to know about green building, and we'll have more for you coming up next.
It's time for this week's Simple Solution from home repair expert Joe Truini.
The best piece of advice I'd ever gotten from a professional painter was to buy the very best brushes you can afford. Now, good paintbrushes are expensive, but if you take care of them, they'll last you a lifetime. Now, to make a brush last a lifetime, though, the first rule is you have to clean it thoroughly after each and every use. But to make that job even easier, what I've discovered is if you prepare the brush before you use it, it makes cleanup really quick and easy. In this case, I'm going to take some masking tape. This is blue painter's tape, about 1.5 inches wide. I'm going to wrap it around the metal ferrule, which is the band that joins the handle to the bristles. I'm going to wrap it around the ferrule, overlapping the bristles by about 1/4 inch or so. And what that's going to do is prevent paint from seeping up and getting stuck in that joint between the metal and the bristles. Because when you dip it into the can, the paint will get in there and dry, and it'll be hard to clean it out. Then the next time you go to use the brush, the little dried paint chips will break off into your new paint finish. So when you're done painting, you just peel this off. What you'll discover is that you'll have a perfectly clean joint between the ferrule and the bristles. Then just clean the brush and store it properly, and it'll be ready to use the next project.
This week, we're looking at the strong building trend of building green. And to help me out on this show, Jim Hackler with Green Builder Magazine. Jim, what a porch on the front of this house.
Isn't this wonderful? And what a lot of people don't realize is the wraparound porches you have in the South were really to shade the windows so you didn't get as hot during the summer.
Right. And I can see they've used a lot of real high quality materials with composite decking and the different columns. I guess that's part of green building as well.
The durability, low maintenance, it's all part of the story.
Now understand that all of these houses were built with that green approach.
They're certified under Atlanta's green building program called Earthcraft House. It's similar to a number of green building rating systems that are across the country. And another wonderful story about this community is that it used to be an industrial site. In fact, the soil was so contaminated with metal shavings they had to ship most of it out. But what the developers had in mind was to create this sense of community in this wonderful neighborhood.
And what we started with was 100% concrete coverage out here. We recycled about 120 million pounds of concrete, used it in all of our roads, underground, and so forth. And that began the process of turning this into Glenwood Park that you see today. We're here at what we call our Central Park. This is actually Glenwood Park. It's also a storm water park, and the pond in the distance there is used to collect all the rainwater that falls on the streets here. And we have a well that's dug beside that. Between the well and the pond, we're able to use about 1.5 million gallons a year for irrigation at Glenwood Park. We don't use any city water for irrigation. That's a very important feature to us. We also clean all the water before it goes back into the system, and it also is flood control. This field could, in a huge flood, actually inundate itself up to the little playground over here, and then it would drain quickly back down. Many features are built into Glenwood Park that we consider green. The sidewalk that we're walking on right now is actually 50% recycled material using slag and fly ash. And it's a very green product that anyone can select. It's called a ternary mix. Also, the houses that you see are part of the story. Every one of them is built to a local green building standard called Earthcraft. And that typically translates to a 20 to 30% reduction in energy use in the home, a little less water use, as well as better indoor air quality, tighter construction. A lot of cellulose and foam sprays are used to really make sure these homes are very, very tight. Well, I think what we're most excited about having done Glenwood Park and getting near its termination and development is how successful it's been from the community perspective. People really seem to love living here, and they keep telling us over and over again, you know, I moved from another neighborhood, even some in-town neighborhoods or suburban neighborhoods, where I didn't know my neighbors, and here they know everybody. Yes, the houses are closer together. They're brought closer to the street intentionally with porches lining the street. You can't avoid your neighbor here. You know, if you're going to be a recluse, you don't want to live here because these people interact constantly with each other. They have conversations together. They meet in the park, and it is part of the story of, you know, the redeveloping inner core of Atlanta. But we think we've been able to put it together in a very positive way here, and we're very excited about that.
Boy, I could really get used to this, having your favorite coffee shop and other stores just within walking distance of the house. That just makes a lot of sense.
It's hard to believe we're only a block away from Mitch's house.
Yeah.
It's part of a growing trend across the country. It's called traditional neighborhood development. The idea behind it is creating neighborhoods like they used to be before we had automobiles.
Right.
In fact, Georgia Tech has a study where they find people who live in these neighborhoods are 20% less likely to use their car, which means, of course, saving gas,
Sure.
and we're helping out the environment,
Plus,
too.
you save a lot of time. Instead of looking at the windshield for several hours a day, you're able to enjoy this. Now, when we spoke to Walter earlier, he talked about how they used a lot of recycled materials in some of the common spaces. I know that's also a big part of green building.
It certainly is. In the house that we were in, the hardwood floors are actually made from reclaimed lumber. And the driveway is made from ground up asphalt where it's in a pebble form that allows the water to percolate through so you don't have stormwater problems.
Oh, okay. I guess that helps a lot. Now, what are some of the other aspects of green building that they've embraced around here?
Well, here's one of the favorite one of most homeowners is durability. It means you don't have to spend a lot of time painting your house or maintaining it. A number of the homes here have features like fiber cement. What's great about that? Termites can't eat it.
Right.
You paint it, the paint lasts sometimes 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, we're seeing that being used all over the place. And of course, the durability of brick and stucco, you can't really beat that. Hey, Jim, thanks for showing us around this neighborhood and kind of getting us up to date on some of these green building practices. And hey, thanks for a pretty good cup of coffee, too.
My pleasure.
Let's join Danny at the Home Center to check out this week's best new product.
More and more homeowners are choosing natural stone for their countertop, but these selections come with a little higher price tag. Now you can get the look of these luxury surfaces with a laminate. Wilson Art High Definition Laminate has subtle variations in both the matte and gloss finish on the material, so it looks as though it has the same depth and texture that you would see with some of the natural stone surfaces. But because it's a laminate, it's more affordable, so you really can get the look for a lot less. Now, this laminate has a wear resistance that's 3 times the industry standard, so you're free to cook, clean, raise children, spill, and basically live in your kitchen. The surface is also non-porous, so unlike other costly surfaces, you won't need to reseal your countertops from time to time. And the price depends on how much you need and the type of edge treatment that you select. But generally, it runs around $25 per square foot installed. This week, we're looking at the concept of building green, and we're in a community where all of the homes are considered green homes. Even this park area has recycled granite that was salvaged from buildings in downtown Atlanta, even a little graffiti left over on the face of some of the pieces. Now, this trend is so popular, it kind of begs for a national standard on what really constitutes a green home. That's exactly what the folks at the U.S. Green Building Council thought, so they developed the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design Rating System, or LEED.
LEED for Homes is an important certification because it provides a national standard for all homes to adhere to that ensure that the house has taken into account how this home is going to impact the society, the environment, and generations to come. So by obtaining the LEED for Homes certification, you are documenting to the homeowner what steps you have taken to improve the house, the home's durability, quality, and its impact on the environment.
An architecturally designed home really has some very distinctive features, and the services of an architect can really help you obtain that level and that look that you really want for the outside of your home. But the same is true for the interior, maybe a kitchen or a bath, or that special designer look on the interior. It's well worth the professional services that are available. Now, if you want to win the best yard in your neighborhood, think about a landscape architect as well. But have you ever heard of an eco designer?
Well, the difference between an eco-sensitive designer and a regular designer is that an eco-sensitive designer really is taking the time to respect the environment and teach and educate our clients on what that means through different products and resources that are available to us. If you have an eco-sensitive environment, you should have a healthy environment as well. And that's basically just making sure that you have low toxins in everything that you use, or no toxins at all. Eco-sensitive paint is a perfect example of that. Inclusive of the different resources that we might be bringing into home, that might be different types of wood, making sure they're grown in a controlled environment, that they're stamped by the forestry department as being sustainable. Really, it is a team effort, but I would say that the builder and the designer probably are the ones that drive the bus in terms of getting everyone on board and making sure that they're all thinking in a certain way.
This Atlanta home, which is being built on the LEED standard, is Jillian's latest project, and it features some really unique green elements like recycled drywall, veneer doors made from pressed wheat, cabinets made from leptis grass, and systems that save tons on energy. But how do builders and subcontractors who use these materials feel about this trend?
Most everybody gets an education on the job every day anyway, so my subs are receptive for using the new products. Some of them roll their eyes at first, and then once they use it, they say, you know, this is not any more difficult to use than the standard product. So, I mean, this house has been kind of a learning situation for a lot of the subs, but it's worked out well.
The environmental awareness that green building generates has even changed the way job sites operate. This machine, called Grindzilla, recycles scrap building materials like lumber and drywall. It grinds up the waste material and removes the nails and screws so that the resulting mulch can be used for erosion control or as soil amendments right on the job site.
What we do is we divert about 70% of the waste by weight out on the builder's site, and we turn their waste into a product so that the builders can use it to supplement some of the costs. In turn, we divert all that material from going to landfill, which costs everybody money going to landfill and their taxes.
One thing I really like about this community is there's so many different architectural styles within this neighborhood, and that just illustrates how you don't have to compromise on design or style to have a home that's considered green. And these guys must be doing something right, because most of these houses sell before they're ever even completed.
Let's head outside for Around the Yard with lawn and garden expert Tricia Craven-Worley.
There are lots of reasons that you need to trim or prune a tree, and actually it's one of my favorite jobs in the garden. Now, this particular tulip tree, you know, it has a mind of its own like so many trees. Up here, unfortunately, there's a dead branch, and I'm going to get to that in just a little while. But there are a lot of branches that cross over, and that's really not very good for the tree. I removed this one a little bit earlier so that I could get to this long branch. Now, I have already removed some of the weight out here, and I also cut it into 3-foot lengths, because in my area we don't have collection right at the curb. We have to do it in bundles, and then it's picked up for recycling. Now, one of the reasons you want to reduce that weight is when you get to this point, you don't want the weight hanging on the limb, because when you make your final cut close to the trunk, you want to make sure it's nice and clean, and if you have that weight holding it down, it's going to have a tendency to pull the branch, and that might cause it to tear. Tearing leads to disease, and what you want is a healthy tree.
Mitch and Kim have a great looking house, and isn't it neat this whole community has embraced green building practices. Now, green building will cost you just a little bit more, 10 to 15%, but just think how much better it is for our environment and how much these folks will be saving every month on their utility bill. Hey, we want to thank the folks here in Glenwood Park for allowing us to see their vision for the future of building. I'm Danny Lipford. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching this episode of Today's Homeowner. And don't forget to like, comment, and hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified of new videos.
And be sure to click around and watch some more videos while you're here.